Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be jumping down into the charts to take a look at Bitcoin to see what's been going on most recently with the market leader. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, links in the description down below. Fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free to join. I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check it out. If you're looking for a little bit more from the crypto space, links in the description down below for our Patreon services as well. Go ahead and check that out if you're looking for a little bit more from this crypto space. Right, let's jump on right down into this. Right, so I'm going to try to keep this video as clean and as short as I possibly can, but there is a reasonable amount of information I do need to get across to you guys. So we're going to kind of just get straight into it. Right, we're on the hourly chart here for Bitcoin price action. We're paired up with USDT, so we can kind of get an idea of what that looks like from that trading pair. It's been one of the major ones for Bitcoin here. So we're on Binance data. Now we know that Binance data sometimes can be a little bit off when we look at other exchanges. Prices, they fluctuate a little bit, and 9 times out of 10 here with major moves with Bitcoin, you find that the price action actually lands pretty much to the penny when it comes to Binance, but maybe not so much with other exchanges, etc. So there's a little bit of hit and miss with this, but if you're trying to kind of replicate what we're doing, these are the settings, like Bitcoin to USDT, hourly chart, Binance is the data source. Okay, so for the most part here, we've been tracking a big ABC move after hitting the high points up here at $48,000. Okay, this is something that we've been talking about for months with the work up towards $47,500. Okay, so obviously just overwit the 47.5, we hit the 48 and we start to see the correction. This is something that we've been talking about for a while, so it shouldn't be a bit of a surprise or anything like that. We saw a bit of a complex correction right in here. Essentially what this was basically a 3-5-3 move as I look at this. So essentially we have the A wave here ending with a 3-3-5 with the 5 waves coming down. Then we actually move up into this move here. Now this one, or B wave high here. Now what's interesting about this is actually this section, this 5 waves right here, because it looks like a 5-3-5, right? But this the 5th wave actually was shorter than this one over this side, this little B high here. So a little bit odd with that, but again, it could just be a running flat when we take a look at it from the ABC perspective, considering we overshot with the B and that C wave down at the bottom here. So I'm not 100% certain what was actually going on there, but we do have 5 waves up, both here and here. So if we were to look at this and say it was an A, B, and C move, it is odd, I'm not going to lie, but it is what the waves are. I can't make that up. That is just simply what they are. So we'll try to make sense of that the best we can, but we don't see from here we actually start to see another 3-3-5, sorry, a 3-3-3, sorry, and not a 3-3-5, and that basically is coming down into the C wave low here. So this is actually looking pretty good so far, but we are looking for a little bit more of a correction. Now it's possible that our C wave has completed right here, including this one. Actually, it could have completed right up there as well, but we should also be up to the idea that we could pull back down towards the $42,000 range. Now if we actually just jump up into our daily, as I bring this up, not the daily, sorry, the 4-hourly chart, what we've actually got here is a potential move. If I mark this up with this, so we got a wave 1, a wave 2, all of that is a wave 3. This wave 4 is not allowed to cross this dotted line, as that would invalidate the structure of a 5th wave going higher. And we've spoken about this moving up towards the kind of $50,000 range, $51,000 kind of higher end there. So this is possible that this is a really complicated 4th wave correction, which is a large ABC, and we are potentially going to be moving on up into the $50,000 range. And then obviously from there, we will talk about bigger corrections that are due afterwards, right? So I do want to kind of just put that out there on these larger timeframes. It's probably easier to look at it on the daily without so much noise going on here. But essentially, it's inside this moment just here, we have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 being this high, a wave 4, and a wave 5. Now, all of that is actually inside an ABC move, just corrective, and we have got our ascending trend line just over here as well. That if we are thinking about pullbacks, I've already kind of said that $37,500 seems to be the area that I would be aiming for with that. And I don't think it's going to come until we first of all push up towards the $50,000 range. And if I show you why I think this, it's pretty much because on our daily chart, we've now corrected to an oversold stochastic RSI, indicating that we should be thinking about momentum moves to the upside rather than to the downside, right? So right now we've completed the ABC correction. The next move should be up, and what we're looking for here is a good structure and to complete out that fifth wave going up towards that $50,000 range, right? So we have that stochastic RSI working for us and it's in our favor. Now, as we come down into the 8 hour, it's the same story. We're oversold. On the 4 hourly, we actually need to see a correction, right? So this is an interesting one. We could potentially move that 4 hourly back up a little bit before we actually have to pull back down. It's a possibility, and this is kind of coupled with what is going on here with our hourly stochastic RSI, right? So we are effectively actually just kind of trading a little bit sideways at the moment, which is, pretty much a continuation pattern, which leads me to thinking there might be a deeper move coming back down, and we'll get into that in a second, as we lower this stochastic RSI down before we start to move back up again. Like I said, we've technically met the requirements for the C wave. It has dropped down lower than the A wave, and we have moved on up higher than the A wave. So in theory, we could say that that is the end of that, and we could move on with life. But this is a bit of a typical kind of move that we would expect here with this kind of sideways trading, that we're going to get a break in one way or the other. And there's two different ways we can look at it, right? As I said, right, we can either count this as our C wave low, and in which case we either have to count this as an A wave high, this is our B wave, all of this here, and a C wave still to come up higher. And again, that could break to an impulsive move going upwards and start our fifth wave higher. Okay, but the 4 hourly stochastic RSI, it can go up in the overbought area, it can be up there for a while, but I would prefer it to be back down a little bit. So I'm expecting some volatility, I guess, is kind of the best way to kind of articulate that here on this this chart for just a little bit longer here, as we start to think about, pulling this down. Now, of course, if we do go past this dotted line is $42,594.06. If we lose that support, effectively there is no fifth wave. That is a completely irrelevant now. It wouldn't happen, right? So it's important that we hold this if we want to see that $50,000 range to come in with good structure that we are mapping out here. Otherwise, we might still go up there, of course, but it'll be a different structure. It'll be just corrective, in my opinion, but it's just highly unlikely that we're going to push that high on a corrective structure, unless, of course, there's something amazing that happens that just creates that short-term boost to the upside. But essentially, the structure that we've got here should indicate that one last push to the upside before we have a bigger pullback. And the bigger pullback is really relevant because it comes into our weekly chart, right? Essentially, what we could be tracking here is from this low point, essentially is basically this move up being 5 waves, a pullback, which would be a 50% pullback, and would actually take us down, maybe not as low as I was originally kind of thinking about, the 37.5K. That's this line down here, by the way. Maybe it will actually hold up around the $39,000 to $40,000 range. Which will still be a very significant drop if we do have to move up to $50,000. Let me just find that about there. And we were to pull back down. I'm thinking we're going to be looking at about a 21 or 20% drop, and that would be about $40,000 from that range. So, that's pretty reasonable kind of expectation for the structure that I would expect to see. So essentially what I'm thinking here is that this is an entire wave 1, a 50% pullback is a typical wave 2, and then you'd have a wave 3 that would take us much higher past the level that we're kind of really wanting to see here, about 58K, and then a pullback for 4, and then an upward move for 5. Okay, and again, the targets that we have on this, they do change a little bit, but essentially we are looking for over $100,000 plus on this weekly chart. So that third wave should be very powerful, and it should move up quite nicely. And the correction that comes in first, this correction down here for about $40,000 Bitcoin, and maybe even a bit lower, essentially should lower the stochastic on the weekly chart to the oversold area with that 20% pullback. Okay, but I don't think that's going to happen just yet. I think we have to kind of first of all see things move up a little bit. But obviously the other thing that I want to kind of address to you guys is some Glassnode data. I do this every single day for our members down in Discord. Because it's important that we understand that we kind of do as they do and not as they say, right? There's lots of noise out in the space, effectively just saying, Bitcoin's going down to, X, Y, and Z, or multiple reasons why you should buy, multiple reasons why you should sell, right? Loads of noise in the space. I prefer data, right? I like to see what's actually going on, and I like to use that to my advantage, right? So one of the main reports on here, I've shown this multiple times before, guys, but essentially I look at two things, right? The net position changes is one of my personal favorites. I really like this report because it basically shows us what is going on in a bull market and what goes on in a bear market in terms of the net difference change. Okay, so the difference between all Bitcoin going onto exchanges and all Bitcoin going off the exchanges has more Bitcoin gone on and has more Bitcoin gone off, right? Which one of those is going on, right? And it's important to understand this because we've either got accumulation going on, or we've got preparation for selling or mass selling occurring, right? So we have the price pulling back right now, and all we've seen is accumulation. Okay, all the red down here is indicating to us, since 2020 this is, guys, basically that we have had more Bitcoin leave the exchanges than it's gone on. It's quite a simple way to kind of understand it. Because what you're actually going to find is that as soon as demand kicks in from retail investors, they go to the exchanges, they look to basically acquire Bitcoin, and there's a shortage of the supply when it comes to Bitcoin because it's been accumulated for such a significant period of time beforehand, right? So all of this over here, right? This is basically 2020, right? April 2020, all the way from the March crashes. Basically, we started to see Bitcoin rally up a bit, right? And all this accumulation was happening. All of this was happening here, all the way through the price movements in 2020 until, of course, we started to get some major traction on price in 2021. And what do we see? Well, we actually start to see the adoption of Bitcoin, or the accumulation of Bitcoin, drop off, and we start to see more inflows. So the people who were basically accumulating Bitcoin ahead of the surge, they were then starting to offload it gradually on the way up. Okay, you see a little bit of adoption again going on in the middle here, a little, pretty significant numbers, and then we get to May and we see the mass offload of Bitcoin, and all of this green is basically more Bitcoin going onto the exchanges and people offloading it, thinking that was it, that's the run, it's over, bear market now. Obviously, that isn't the case. It's actually a fourth wave complex correction, as many of you know if you follow the analysis. So what do we see? We will see the lows of June get hit and more adoption coming in, more accumulation, I should say, coming in. And again, it's pretty much been consistent. There's been a few outflows or inflows coming in here, greater than the outflows, and when we got to like the $69,000, $67,000 range. But for the most part, all we are seeing here is more and more outflows, right? And if we actually roll this back to 2017, what do you see? What's the main difference here? Is basically Bitcoin being loaded onto the exchanges. So much Bitcoin being loaded up onto the exchanges in the bear market versus what has been going on over here in the bull run, right? So what's the difference between a bear market and a bull market? Well, in a bear market, you see this as green, and in a bull run, you see it as red, okay? Now, if I bring this right down to what's going on currently, we can see that there was 79,947 Bitcoin more, or say more Bitcoin left exchanges yesterday. The day before that, 93,000. The day before that, 90,000. The day before that, 91,000. The day before that, 94,000. You kind of get the idea. There's been a total of 1.9 million more Bitcoin has left the exchanges this year alone. Okay, so that's a significant squeeze on the supply, and I think it's only going to get worse. We also have another report, one of the second favorites, which is basically the balance of Bitcoin on exchanges. Now, if I roll this back to, let's say, 2019 here, we get a good idea as to where the highs were, right? We can see that basically we're coming down now to lows of Bitcoin on exchanges that haven't been seen for years. There's a huge shock to the Bitcoin supply, and it is real, and I think it's really going to kick in once we actually get past $58,000, which I do think is going to come on the next major wave upwards, right? So not this little fifth wave that's going up to about 50, and not obviously the crash that takes us down to about 40. It's the wave after that I think the retail investors are really going to start seeing the power of Bitcoin as it starts to approach new all-time highs, hits new all-time highs, and the FOMO is going to be very, very real. We're going to start seeing a huge shock to the supply as that demand really kicks in, and we're going to start seeing Bitcoin really fly off the shelves. And as a result of this, what we're going to do is we're going to start seeing Bitcoin hit numbers that a lot of us just didn't think was actually really possible. And I think it's going to shock the entire crypto space when they start looking at the market cap and start scratching their head thinking, how has Bitcoin got a market cap of, $2-3 trillion? And quite simply, market cap only represents price. It's not the amount of money going into the market or anything like that. And basically, it's all very, very possible. And it starts here by seeing the supply on the exchanges shrink the way that it has done. So all in all, guys, I think Bitcoin's in a really good place. We're going to see some natural kind of corrections. A lot of this doesn't really bother me too much. This is pretty much the kind of stuff that you would expect to see. We've been talking about it for what feels like months now. Move up to 47.5, pull back down to like 37.5. Admittedly, I think the only new addition here is that we actually have that potential move up to 50K before we have that pullback. That's the only thing that's really changed when it comes to Bitcoin data for the most part. Obviously, altcoins are following the trends of Bitcoin Bitcoin. There's no decoupling going on there. So essentially, you know, Bitcoin loses 20%, altcoins will lose 50%. That's pretty much the kind of standard stuff that we kind of see here in crypto. And none of it actually bothers me because we're actually holding very good structure across most of these altcoins as well as Bitcoin here. So for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the progress that we're making so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, what happens next. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I'm really interested to know where you think Bitcoin is going to actually land by the end of this bull run. Guys, if you found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.